Hello, so today I'm going to give you a brief overview of another development to my spline mesh blueprint. One I might have mentioned before, but I've got it working, which is going to be pretty useful indeed, I think, which is spline meshes connected together to make a network of roads, pavements, paths, whatever. And this is also another bit of my symmetry map in the making, using the stepped feature I showed a couple of videos ago. But back to this. So what I have here are three ordinary spline meshes and one connector piece. And this is an ordinary static mesh, which isn't for some reason opening up. Right, let's bring that across. So all I've done is add some sockets, and sockets have rotations, and so the sockets define the position and the relative rotation of where things will be attached. I'm not the first person to do this kind of thing. I think lots of road tools do it, but anyway, that's the basic setup. And then I've adapted my spline mesh blueprint with all these parameters now in it. This is, well, let's see, is that the beginning or the end? It takes me a while to figure out. Okay, 0, 1. So this is mesh 1, so that is the end. And in this last mesh thing, you can select a mesh to attach it to, and the socket, and it will, alright, so I've now got it so it will automatically attach regardless of what you do with that. You can adjust any other bit of the spline, but with that plugged in, it will automatically stick in the right direction. And this took me quite some time to do. It doesn't update automatically, but when you build the level it does, or when you tell it explicitly to snap the mesh, it will do so. And it's not quite right because the maths involved creates accuracy errors. So I've got this fine-tune parameter to fix that. So it needs more, minus 0.1, oh, 0.1, 0.3, and so on. So not quite perfect, but you can get pretty good results. I'm going to undo all that because I just want to, before I forget. And there we go. Right, so and that's basically it, but it does it's quite useful. So there's another road system I've looked at after I built this, in fact, which has this piece as part of a spline mesh, and it works in 1 degree of freedom, but if you roll it if you roll it around this axis, the spline meshes that connect to it won't adapt, and this is because of the way splines do rolling. I had turned the roll off, but if I turn it on, you'll see what happens. If I find spline control, use the mesh roll. Well, for a start, that's broken my yeah, never mind. So that's a roll, and it's very sensitive to the input. And it turns out that all the basic stuff in Unreal that uses angles uses degrees, except when you plug in the roll for a spline mesh, it uses radians. And it doesn't seem to do any conversion here, so what you're getting is degrees plugged in as radians, but that doesn't seem to be right either. That's very, very sensitive. Anyway, so if you do turn on roll, it's good for some things, not others. So if I use the roll, you know, if you want to get bendy broken fences, you can get that, but most of the time not useful. So that's another thing I did. I think that's basically it, so I'll leave it there. But that should hopefully make it easy to do urban levels to get pavements and roads working nicely with junctions and things, which was something I was struggling a bit with. And in theory, it's possible to adapt this to the child blueprint I've made, which has everything attached to it. In theory, that's compatible. In practice, needs a bit more work to make the child elements have the same necessary role, and it might not quite work for other reasons, but I was thinking about that as a way perhaps to put in paint lines as actual spline meshes. But it might be as easy to just make the mesh have the paint lines now that you can use the system more effectively and substitute individual bits of the mesh. Anyway, there we go. Alright, bye.